What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode. I'm SwipaCam and welcome to my channel. So this is going to be a special episode. We're not going to talk about last night's game against the Washington Wizards. We're not going to talk about tomorrow's game against OKC. What we're going to talk about is how to fix the Denver Nuggets. We're going to talk about what the problem is with the Denver Nuggets with their perimeter defense. Now, this is how this is going to work. I need you all to be involved as possible in this video. So in the comment section, let me know. Let your peers know. What are you thinking? Why do you think we're having so many issues guarding on the perimeter? Why do you think that the Nuggets defense is suffering like it is? Is it just because of the injuries? Is it because Gary Harris and PJ Dozier has been out and Will Barton has been hurt? And it's because of JaMychal Green and Paul Millsap? What's the problem? Who do you think the Nuggets should legitimately and logistically trade for? Who are actual people the Nuggets can trade for, really, without giving up Michael Porter Jr.? So we're going to talk about that today. But y'all, hit that subscribe button. Hit that logo. We are on the way to something special with this channel. We're just doing Denver Nuggets video right now because this is my baseline. This is my family. Y'all my family. But we're eventually going to open this channel up to other NBA teams, open it up to football, Denver Broncos football. So it's going to continue to grow. But this is, again, we are the base of what this channel is. Our shared love for the Denver Nuggets, for Nikola Jokic, and really just for the game of basketball. So here we go. What's wrong with the Denver Nuggets? What's the problem? You see, the thing that I have kept getting reminded of over the last several weeks is the Nuggets have really just been floundering around 800. It reminds me of last year, Game 3 against the Utah Jazz in the first rounds. Now, a lot of y'all will remember this. You'll remember how we felt after the Denver Nuggets got absolutely washed by the Utah Jazz in Game 3. They were down by 30 points at one point in the fourth quarter. Donovan Mitchell had a breakaway jam, dunked on everybody, and the series was going to go 2-1, and it did not look pretty. And then again, you could look at folks like on DNVR with the great Adam Mares, with D-Line, with Brandon Vogt, with Duvalier. I mean, you could look at everybody. You could see folks was hurting. Harrison Wynn. People we didn't understand how could the Nuggets have lost that game like that, especially with Nikola Jokic, because people were even saying they think Jokic might have gave up. So that was a really, really, really bad time. And we remember how that felt. We felt desperate. We felt like this team that we had been cheering for, the player we had all been putting forth as a potential MVP candidate, Nikola Jokic, you felt like we were frauds. But then they turned it around. The Nuggets went on to lose Game 4, but they lost Game 4 with Jamal Murray putting up 50 points. And then Jamal Murray had 42 points. And then Jamal Murray had 50 points again. Then the Nuggets pulled it out, won that game in Game 7 against the Utah Jazz when Nikola Jokic hit a turnaround jumper in the face of Rudy Gobert against the two-time Defensive Player of the Year. And we had a game-winning shot to win Game 7 in the first round. And then you remember the story. We went on against the Los Angeles Clippers. We were tied 1-1. Then we were down 3-1. And then all of a sudden, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, they took over from there. Their two-man game was too much for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Nothing they could do with the Clippers. Harrell, Zubac, nobody could stop Jokic. And then in Game 7, Jamal Murray puts up a 40-piece. Lets them know, this is my house. And then in Game 7, Jokic had, I want to say, 16 points, 22 rebounds, and 13 assists in the Game 7. So we've seen him do it before. Then he went against the Lakers. There were really no blowouts except for Game 1, but the Nuggets were just overmatched because of how they were containing Nikola Jokic. So we remember how we felt watching the playoffs last year. We remember what was going through our minds as we were trying to decide, is this team for real? And here we are back again with the same question. Are the Denver Nuggets for real? Do they have what it takes? By the way, I'm going to go ahead and give a plug right here. Ryan Blackburn has a new podcast coming out called Pickaxe and Roll. Ryan Blackburn has a new podcast coming out. He's leaving Denver Stiffs. He's starting another podcast called Pickaxe and Roll. Go ahead and subscribe to that because Ryan Blackburn putting great content out there. So, again, go support DNVR. Go support Ryan Blackburn. If there are other Nugget sites that you love, let them know in the comment section. Let's continue to build this community all the way. Anyway, my analysis of why the Denver Nuggets are struggling so badly is because as much as Jamal Murray has improved as a perimeter defender, The facts of the matter is he's just not Gary Harris. Gary Harris, he may not do a lot of things great on offense. Gary Harris may not be able to shoot well right now. Gary Harris might be inconsistent on offense. Gary Harris might be missing ever since the 2016-17 season, 17-18 season. Gary Harris has been falling off. At one point, 17.5 points per game, 42% from the three-point line. Gary Harris was looking like the second coming of Kawhi Leonard. I remember telling friends, Gary Harris is the second coming of Kawhi Leonard. Injuries happen, abductor sprains, all kind of stuff. And Gary Harris just hasn't been the same since on offense. But on defense, Gary Harris is terrifying. He's been taking up the lead matchup for the Nuggets every game. Gary Harris is top 5 defender in terms of time spent on the opponent's number 1 player on the perimeter. Gary Harris is a problem. You see, Gary Harris makes up for a lot of deficiencies with Jamal Murray or with Will Barton at times, or even with Michael Porter Jr. Because Gary Harris is has elite quickness and elite athleticism. He just is 6'4". So the reason why Donovan Mitchell historically has struggled against the Denver Nuggets is not just because the Nuggets, the way they play defense and hard hedges and making sure Nikola Jokic is playing up on pick and rolls in the regular season, but it's because of Gary Harris. Now remember, when Gary Harris came back, I believe it was Game 5. When he came back for Game 5 against the Utah Jazz, that changed everything. Because Donovan Mitchell couldn't just do whatever he wanted to do anymore. Gary was there. Gary was the one that helped win that Game 7 against the Jazz because he got that steal, that poke away from Donovan Mitchell. Gary Harris is a match for folks like Donovan Mitchell. Because not only is he taller than Mitch, but he's almost just as athletic, and he's really probably maybe just as fast, if not a little bit faster. So not having Gary Harris makes a big deal. I want to read this to you. So you can go to Basketball Reference. That's where I find all my data. So when you see me on social media telling the story of why Nikola Jokic is the MVP of the league, because he's leading the league in PER, win shares per 48, offensive win shares, offensive box plus minus. He's top 10 in defensive win share, defensive box plus minus. And then Nikola Jokic has a box plus minus score of 11.3, which basically puts him on track for a top 12 season of all time in NBA history. So I find everything in Basketball Reference. And so here's some numbers on Gary Harris. With the starting lineup of Gary Harris, Will Barton, Paul Millsap, Jokic, Murray, they're a plus 9.3 with Gary Harris in the lineup. A plus 9.3. And that lineup has played a total just this season of 250 minutes together. No small sample size. One of the most frequently played lineups in the NBA. When that lineup is on the court, it's a plus 9.3. Now, here's where it gets crazy. Now, these lineups have shorter amount of time spent together. So the one I'm about to read to you now, they only have 27 minutes and 56 seconds of time played, but it's significant. Gary Harris, Michael Porter Jr., JaMychal Green, Jokic, Murray. In 27 minutes of time played together, they are a plus 34.9 points. In 27 minutes, that unit is a plus 34.9 points. 34.9. Now, how about this one? Read this. Again, this one is only 12 minutes and 46 seconds. Gary Harris, JaMychal Green, Monte Morris, Jokic, Murray. Plus 65. Plus 65 points in 12 minutes and 46 seconds. You see the thing that Gary does is why Gary may not be the greatest offensive player. But what he is he knows what he's supposed to do on offense. He's where he's supposed to be, and he knows how to play with Jokic because they've been playing together since the 2015-16 season. Remember, y'all, he's been there just as long as Jokic has. Even if longer, really, because his rookie year, 2014, he was there, and Jokic was still playing overseas. He was there before Jamal Murray was in 2016 year, so he has been there. He's a part of the DNA of this Nuggets team. So he knows every little thing that he needs to know to be a contributing factor with this team. But then not only that, but he takes the toughest defensive assignments because he's gritty. So not having not just a good perimeter defender, but an elite guard defender changes everything for the Nuggets. Because when he's in there, it changes the fulcrum of the team. It changes the feel of the team. It changes the way the team operates. It changes the way the team looks. When you get Jamal Murray and Gary Harris out there with a Michael Porter Jr., JaMychal Green, and Nikola Jokic, that is an elite five-man lineup in the NBA. Last year, you get a Jamal Murray, you get a Gary Harris, you get a Michael Porter Jr., Jeremy Grant, and Jokic. That's an elite lineup with two amazing perimeter defenders, which is why that unit caused the Lakers and the Clippers so many problems. The only lineup that Gary Harris is not good with are ones that feature both Millsap and Porter. And y'all have to remember, in Porter's development right now, he's still learning how to become a free-flowing offensive player that doesn't take up possessions. And Paul Millsap knows where he's supposed to be. But remember, Paul Millsap plays in the corner typically, or he plays in that dunker spot by the basket. And that's where him and Jokic really have a connection. So when he's out there, it kind of clogs up the paint in some ways for Gary Harris. And then also with Michael Porter Jr., it's just not like that great of a lineup yet. And I don't really, that's just, it takes time for Porter to learn how to play with those players. That's the only negative lineup. Every other Denver Nuggets lineup, Gary Harris is solid. The reason that the Nuggets are having issues with perimeter defense is because if you don't have a Gary Harris, and then you don't have a PJ Dozier, because again, PJ Dozier is a point guard or a shooting guard, but he's playing the three with this team. PJ Dozier is 6'6", and he is athletic. Now, he's not obscenely quick like Gary Harris is, but he's a very, very good perimeter defender. So when you're missing PJ Dozier at 6'6", Gary Harris at 6'4", and then on top of that, you're also missing a healthy Will Barton. And then you're also missing Greg Whittington. Now, remember, y'all, last year, Will Barton, up until that month of January when Murray was out, Will Barton was the second best player in this Denver Nuggets team. Because Gary Harris was out, Paul Millsap, and Jamal Murray. It was Will Barton that was carrying this team. At some point, he was averaging like 17 points a game, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. Going off. So, Will Barton has been nicked up. Hasn't been himself. Gary Harris is out. PJ Dozier's out. And we don't even know when Greg Whittington's coming in. He was lifted to doubtful yesterday. He might play this weekend against OKC. Who knows? That's another 6'8" defender you don't have. So when you lose Jeremy Grant, when you don't get Drew Holiday, and then on top of that, your best perimeter defender's out, changes the game. Because again, Monte Morris, try hard. Facu Campazzo, try hard. They have good defensive instincts, but because of their stature, it causes issues. So when you get Facu Campazzo in the game, as elite as he is with his hands, with his quickness, with his toughness, peskiness, he's still only 5'11". And he's 5'11" and playing against guards in the NBA that are faster than he is, that are bigger than he is. So again, if Facu stays in front of the man, we straight. But as soon as he gets leveled, it's a wrap. It's just because he's too small. Whereas Gary Harris is 6'4", and faster, and stronger than Facu, and more athletic. So that changes the game. Not having Gary Harris has made a really big deal, and I think we need to continue to give credence to that. Now, next section. What are some potential trades that the Denver Nuggets could make to help put the roster more together? For the sake of this conversation, I only have 4. I have 4 trade proposals. Some of them more likely than others. The last one we'll talk about, the most unlikely one, but I think actually there's a legitimate chance that we could get this one done. First one, with the caveat, this player has been out since February 1st because of an ankle injury. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks, so he might be back here the next couple of weeks, but he's still out. He's still hurt. The first one is Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon is 25 years old. He fits right in between the timeline of Jokic and Murray and right in the timeline of MPJ. This season, he's only averaging 13.8 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, and his PER is a 14.8. It's not great. It's decent. Starter, low-end starter. Maybe there's a deal. Where instead of letting him walk away, because this is, again, Aaron Gordon is in the third year of his 4-year contract. He's making $18 million this year. Next year, he makes $16 million. Maybe instead of just let Aaron Gordon walk in free agency, can we give them Will Barton? Can we give them Will Barton, who's cheaper, who's still a great player, who can be another 6-man player for them, or even start at the 3 if need be? Can we give them Will Barton and a 2021 first-round pick and a 2026 first-round pick? Now, here's where this becomes problematic. Because of the trade that the Nuggets made in the draft for R.J. Hampton this last year with OKC, they owe OKC one of their picks between 2023 to 2025. And I got this information from Ryan Blackburn. So again, go check out Ryan Blackburn. So he's not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to just trade one of these picks. So really they only have 2 they can work with right now, 2021, 2026. So they could make a trade for Aaron Gordon. And honestly, y'all, I don't think it's going to be that crazy. It really wouldn't cost that much. Not to me. The fact is, you're not going to make an argument if you're the Magic and tell me Aaron Gordon is an all-star. A PER 14.8, 13.8 points a game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. That's not all-star numbers. That's not even borderline all-star. Jamal Murray's a borderline all-star. He's averaging 21, 4.6, 4.6 basically. And 8 straight games of 22 plus. And in the playoffs, we already know that he's a top 10 player. Aaron Gordon, on the other hand, has been none of those things. So you can get Aaron Gordon. Think about him. Aaron Gordon next to MPJ. Aaron Gordon next to Jokic. Cutting to the basket. In the corner hitting 3-pointers. Guarding a 6'8" athlete. I think Aaron Gordon is a good get. And based on this information, when he's healthy, I think that's a possible get. Let me know in the comment section what you think about that. All right, number 2. Bleacher Report came out with a report today that said that this trade is something that the Nuggets have inquired about. That's for PJ Dozier. Sorry, not PJ Dozier. PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker plays for the Houston Rockets. This season, PJ Tucker is 35 years old. He's averaging 4.4 points per game, 4.6 rebounds per game, 82% from the free throw line, 44% from the field goal, and only 31% from 3. He's on the last year of his deal, and he's making $7 million this season. What would it take? Now, Paul Millsap can basically veto any trade. And JaMychal Green, we have to wait to a certain point to be able to trade him. Is there a possibility? Is there a possibility that the Nuggets could let go of JaMychal Green at some point this season? Maybe 2 second-rounders can get it done. Maybe 2 second-rounders can get it done. I mean, will they be willing to let go of a Will Barton? Again, the only thing about PJ Tucker is he's more of a 4 and a 5. Really a 4. PJ Tucker is really not a 3. So you're going to eliminate some depth at the 3, but you're going to have more depth at the 4 and maybe a little bit more versatile as well. Could you throw 2 second-round picks at PJ Dozier? Expiring contract, 35-year-old player? Possible. I think that's possible. Again, y'all, giving up a first-round pick for PJ Tucker? I said Dozier again, didn't I, earlier? I'm sorry. I don't know if I can give a first-round pick for Tucker up, man. There might be a player swap in there. A couple second-round picks, but again, for a player with a 5.1 PER, 4 points a game, 4 rebounds a game, 31% from the three-point line. No, I don't think so. So maybe 2 second-round picks get that done. Let me know what you think about that. PJ Tucker. The Nuggets are interested already. PJ Tucker. All right. My third trade proposal, a 28-year-old shooting guard, 14.5 PER this year, averaging 19 points per game, 5 assists per game, 5 rebounds per game, 73% from the free throw line, 46% from the field, 31% from the three-point line. That's Victor Oladipo. I wouldn't mind this. Victor Oladipo sounds about like a Gary Harris plus a first-round pick kind of a range. Victor Oladipo's playing well. He's playing great in some ways. Again, decent PER. Not all-star numbers. 19, 5, and 5. It's pretty good. It's not a great shooter. Great defender. Now, see, the thing is with Victor Oladipo is you get a lot of potential on defense. You get the Gary Harris kind of potential at about a 6'5" guard. But he's also a pretty significant uptick right now of his career in offensive output. 19, 5, and 5, and you slot that in the lineup between Jamal Murray, between Michael Porter Jr., and you also get some defense. Like, if Gary Harris is an A, Victor Oladipo is a B+. Gary Harris in a pick, Gary Harris in 2 picks, Gary Harris a first-round pick and a second-round pick, Will Barton in 2 picks. Again, y'all, Will Barton's making about 14.5. I think Gary's making 19. That's about what Victor's making. I think that's a possibility. I wouldn't mind that. I really wouldn't. Let me know what you think in the comment section. All right. Last one. So, other trade proposals that I did not write down that I've been thinking about. You already know, I love Jaren Jackson Jr. I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. is a great player. I would love to have a 6'10 athletic freak who could shoot, play defense, and interior defense next to Nikola Jokic. Jaren Jackson Jr. would fit that mold. I would be salivating over that. I don't think the Memphis Grizzlies are giving up Jaren Jackson Jr. for any deal that does not include MPJ, and Jaren Jackson does not have the ceiling. MPJ does, so I'm not giving MPJ up for Jaren Jackson. I'm not doing it. But if there was a trade out there, if we could load something together for Memphis, get Jaren Jackson, great. But I don't see it happening. Ben Simmons. Currently, Ben Simmons is the second best player on a team that's leading the East in wins right now. They would only be the fourth seed in the West, but they're leading the East in wins. I don't think they're trading Ben Simmons. Unless MPJ is involved, I don't think they're trading Ben Simmons. Unless MPJ is involved, I can't see it. I would love to see Ben Simmons playing a combo forward position next to Nikola Jokic, bringing the ball up the court, cutting off of Nikola Jokic, cutting to the basket, alley-oops, driving to the basket. His defense at 6'10", guarding 1 through 5 would be a dream, a match made in heaven. I don't think it's happening. So Jaren Jackson Jr., Ben Simmons. I've talked about Matisse Thybulle before. I don't know what it would take to get him. He's not even starting for them right now. I think he'd be a great get for the Nuggets. Don't know if they're going to get him. So anyway, who would be my ideal candidate who I think the Nuggets could get without giving up Michael Porter Jr.? Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam. Here's why. Pascal is averaging 20.1 points per game, 4.8 assists per game, 7.5 rebounds per game, shooting 82% from the free throw line, 50% from the field, and only 29% from the three-point line. PER of 17.6. That's around Jamal Murray, what he's doing right now. Good player. Maybe a fringe all-star. 20, 4.8, 7 on 81, 50, and 29. At 6'9". At about 6'9". I think that's a possibility, y'all. I honestly think that's a possibility. He's 6'9". He would add a lot to this team. He'd be a great defender. And here's the thing. I think there's a possibility that you could get Siakam without giving up MPJ. Here's why. He has a 4-year, $136,905,216 million deal. That's what it would be with no All-NBA attachments to his name. $136 million, roughly $137 million over a 4-year period. This is the first year of his deal. Do the Toronto Raptors want to pay out the fullness of that deal? I don't know. Is he really good enough for you to be paying essentially a max contract to? Because I can think of a team that could put together a nice little package, give you some relief, while giving you some good players and take them off your hands. Here would be my trade package if I was the Denver Nuggets. Gary Harris, Will Barton, Zeke Naji, 2 first-round picks, Pascal Siakam, and Terrence Davis. Gary Harris, Will Barton, Zeke Naji, 2 first-round pick, Pascal Siakam, and Terrence Davis. I honestly think that deal could get done. I think there's a possibility that deal could get done. They'd be getting a great perimeter defender. They'd be getting a good 6-man. They'd be getting a promising 4-player. The Nuggets already have 2 4s on their squad. And the Denver Nuggets would be taking on the remainder of essentially a max contract, sliding him between Jamal Murray. You could start either Monte Morris or Facu Campazzo, or you could start PJ Dozier. So you could start Jamal Murray, Monte Morris, Michael Porter Jr., Pascal Siakam, and Jokic. And you could have some problems. Or you could start Jamal Murray, RJ Hampton, Michael Porter Jr., Pascal Siakam, Nikola Jokic. That might be something, y'all. I think that would be a fair deal for both sides, considering all the parameters around that. The Nuggets could be getting rid of two guards essentially, but again, because RJ Hampton is here, they could pick up somebody else on the free agency wire as well. I think it's possible, y'all. That would be my ideal selection for the Denver Nuggets, because based on his output with Gary Harris, Will Barton, and Zeke Naji, you're going to get a pretty decent haul for having Terrence Davis back, who comes off the bench, who takes one of those shooting guard positions off the bench, and getting Pascal Siakam. Then they get a promising player in Zeke Naji who can average shooting like 42% from the three-point line this year at 6'11", and he can essentially guard 5 through 2. So I think that can work. I think that Pascal would look great between Jokic and MPJ. I think he would look great helping and assisting, switching. I think it's a possibility. Y'all, let me know what you think. This is my idea to fix the Denver Nuggets. This is my analysis of why the perimeter defense is suffering right now, because Gary Harris and PJ Dozier are not in the lineup. I think that this could fix the 17-15 Denver Nuggets, and this could take them to the next level, to getting them back to elite status. Let me know what you think. I'm SwipaCam. I will see you tomorrow after the Denver Nuggets play against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And we out. I'll see you later. Swipe a game!